Hey guys, welcome to Threats Podcast Life Unfiltered. Thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to record as always. Not really. I'm a little apprehensive today. Mike, of course, put up a good show plan, but and actually was my idea. But yeah, so what are we doing today, Mike? What episode number is this?
We are episode 171. We are getting close to 200. Not really. It feels like a long ways
I
off.
think it's September.
Is it September?
Yeah, and we have to decide if we're going to count the episodes in April as actual episodes.
No.
No. Okay.
It's cheating.
Okay,
way.
then it definitely is getting bumped back.
Okay.
So we'll have to do something for 200.
Because otherwise, it's going to be May. Sorry, we were talking about that song earlier, people. So anyways, we are going to talk about faith in a very uncomfortable way. I think whether you are a Christian or even not a Christian, it's going to be uncomfortable. And I think I'm okay with that. How about you, Jason? Are you okay with the uncomfortable?
I think you're going to be more uncomfortable than me
Nah.
because I'm going to rip it to the bone.
We're all going to be uncomfortable, and this is good. So that is where we are heading tonight. So I decided before we got into that, we're going to start with a story time. And you know what, Jason? Why don't you tell us your story of something that's happened in the last couple weeks?
Okay, so my story is actually gig related, which gig work. If you guys know, I do gig work in the winter, and I've been doing a lot of Walmart grocery shopping. And so, I don't know, this happened a couple months ago. So I'm down the frozen aisle, and I need waffles, cinnamon waffles, Mike.
Okay.
And I see an old man there in front of the freezer. I'm like, okay. And he's grabbing these boxes of waffles and opening these boxes of waffles and sniffing.
No.
Swear to God.
Like seal, like he opened the seal.
No. So it's cardboard, and then it's got
Yeah.
I didn't see him opening the cellophane. Is that cellophane?
Yeah, sure,
Plastic?
Sure.
The boxes. So he opens them. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go find something else. So I go to another aisle, come back. He's still there. Yeah. What was this guy doing?
Multiple boxes.
Multiple boxes. Well, I found out multiple boxes because when I went to go grab my customers' cinnamon waffles, all the boxes were open. And I was not able to. I had to say they weren't available because I'm not delivering an open box
Correct.
of cinnamon waffles. I don't know what that guy was doing. It was super weird. That's the weirdest thing I've actually seen at that Walmart, though. That's pretty good. You know, there's a website, peopleofwalmart.com.
Yes.
The Granville Walmart isn't that bad, but that was the first kind of like, whoa. And then I've had people like, they're literally talking to themselves while they're shopping. No earbuds in. Like, they're having conversations. But anyways, that guy was weird. I don't know. My customer didn't ever know that was the issue. But, yeah, he was sniffing the waffle boxes. And why is he opening every one? He must have had, Alzheimer's or something, which I actually kind of, now I think about it, feel kind of bad.
You're talking about it and you're processing
I
it.
know. I'm like, maybe I should have helped him because now I'm feeling like a dirtbag. But, yeah, I was just like, okay, sir, you have a good day.
So what's so funny is that you feel bad now, and as I was listening, I was like, you actually should have filmed him.
No, I never want to be that person when shit goes down. I want to be the one going in. I don't want to be the one filming because they do serve a purpose when you see people filming. It does serve a purpose, but
Because it's funny.
Well, not only it's funny, it can document crimes
True.
and get people in trouble. But then I'm thinking, is there anyone else around to help whatever's going on?
Yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah, no, I wasn't going to film them. I do feel bad.
That is gross and disgusting. And your poor customer probably went back on Walmart's website and was like, they're showing that they're available.
You know what's nice, Mike, is the pandemic and the supply chain issue. There is just no one complaining. They just know that
something is off.
Yeah. And I do my best to get them what they need because I treat the people that I shop for like I would want to be treated.
Yeah.
So I try my best, but I'm not delivering open boxes.
No.
But again, he must have been mentally ill because what are you looking for in there?
Or smelling for.
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be like he was looking for an extra one. I don't know. Maybe there was Willy Wonka's golden ticket in there and he was looking for it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
so what is your story?
Well, I don't know if mine won't top that.
Actually, yeah, it will.
Yeah, it will. So
I know your story.
So I'm going to Israel in 17 days. I just saw an email.
Oh, just to let you know, he's going in 17 days. He also has stopped running, y'all, just for time.
I've stopped running. So I have started to ruck a lot more, and I decided, hey, Israel has hills, and I've been rucking on fairly flat ground. I think the place with like the most elevation gain was like 142 feet where you and I rocked.
Upper back.
Yeah, on Thursdays. I was like, okay, like I want more. So there's a place in Saugatuck on the State Dune. So I went there on a Monday. I was like, hey, this is really awesome. It's really tough. So I went that next Wednesday because we did not have a youth group. And I was like, okay, sweet, I have time to go. It's getting a little bit late, but I have enough time tonight, so I'm gonna do it. So I go out. I'm like, okay, look at my watch. I have like 1.9 miles. I'm like, I want to go a little bit farther. There's this south trail. I'll just head out on that. So I'm heading out. It's a trail where you go and it like winds back and forth, and like you kind of like turn, and there's not like one set of dunes. Like I think sometimes when you think about the dunes, there's one set, but there's like probably like 4 or 5 different sets. So anyways, this trail winds in the low parts.
Question.
Yes.
Are they somewhat manicured trails, or is like a lot of people use these, or is it a little roughage?
Yeah, I mean it is. There's nothing down on the ground.
Right.
The great thing though was it was snow, so there was snow pack.
Okay.
So you could see where the main path was, and then there's little trails people took off.
Gotcha.
So anyways, going down this, and I'm like, I swear I was heading back to the parking lot, but it's getting dark. It's almost sunset. And there's these 2 hikers in front of me, and I went up, and I normally never talk to people hiking. Like, that's my time to be away from people. But I said, hey, like, are we heading back to the parking lot or still going out to the lake? And like, we're still heading out to the lake.
And he was out that late too, or she?
Well, it was a group of guys. There were like 2 or 3 guys.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I'm 45 minutes. If I've timed it right, I'm 45 minutes out. It's getting dark. Like, sun is setting in like a couple minutes. So you usually have about 30 minutes of light after sunset.
Yep.
I'm like, okay. So I'll text my wife. So I text her, hey, this is where I am. I am not where I thought I was going to be. So I'm going to be late heading back. It's going to be dark by the time I'm texting you that I'm leaving. And also I have to turn off my phone because my battery is 24% and it's searching for signal. So I only had signal in that little bit. So I start heading back. But I'm like, hey, I have a flashlight. It is all good. Like, I'm good. I got it. Start heading back, turn off my phone, and I went to go check my flashlight, and the batteries are dead. So then, and also what I was wearing was like warm weather running tights with shorts over. So it's starting to get cold because the sun's going down. And so I'm going back. I'm heading back in this path. I'm like, okay, as long as I can keep seeing the path, I can keep heading back. But I had the momentary panic after I realized my flesh. I was like, oh, crap. My heart's racing. I was like, well, first of all, that's not going to help you, so calm down.
Yep.
So head back, keep following the path. But, you know, like when you're heading back on a path, like you always forget like a turn or two, and you're like, wait, did I do this turn right? Did I do this turn right? So I finally get back, and I see lights. I'm like, oh, I've made it. So I text my wife, I made it back, and I get back to my house. She's like, I am so pissed at you right now. I wanted to say, you better hope you die out there because otherwise I'm going to kill you. And she's like, I better not text that in case it's the last word. So anyways.
Good call, Natalie. Good call.
That was my adventure of thinking I could quickly do a loop and not looking at the map and seeing the whole loop of the trails, 5.5 miles. And I had gone out. So instead of my 3 miles, I went 5.2 miles that night. And it was good I turned back around because I think it was that next Saturday. I'm like, I'm going to conquer this stupid loop. I would not have conquered it that night. Because it ended up going through sand dunes. You gain like 100 and some feet in like a half mile. Anyways, so it's a good thing I turned around, but man.
So many questions. So in Saugatuck, you drove down there.
Yep.
So it's like, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah, about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. And so normally in the summer, it's sand?
Well, there's sand. Well, so
many questions.
I know. So it's this weird place. There's like normal, like harder dirt, and then there's sand. There's just all different. I mean, it's a 1,000-acre park.
Oh.
So this 1,000-acre park, like you have pine trees, you have hardwood trees, you have just all sorts of trees, different types of paths. And the other 2 loops are about like two miles a loop. So I was thinking, this loop is probably about 2 miles like the other loops. But
yeah.
I was wrong.
Wow, that's scary. Especially for Natalie, especially you texted her and then you shut your phone off.
I told her I was shutting it off, though, to save battery.
Man, so have you changed up the equipment now that you're going, even if you're going during the day?
Yes. So I now bring one of those, like, battery packs.
Portable battery charger.
With a cord. I made sure, every time I make sure that my headlamp still has battery, That's not going dim.
Yeah.
So I have that. I haven't done like a blanket yet. I thought about getting one of those like post-race blankets.
Yeah.
Like those, it's not metal.
I mean, if you're going to the day, I wouldn't be too worried about it.
But it's so small, you could just always have in there.
True.
But I haven't done that.
Man, like, does it make you think about, like, we never would be able to do Appalachian Trail because honestly, you were a little scared, and I would be too.
Yeah.
I've got turned around when I'm doing a flex route in my car and no GPS, and I go, I don't know how to get home. Like, it was in the middle of, like, Grant or something, and it's like a dead zone up there. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. I have a compass on my car. I'm going to follow to a main road and then head south. And eventually I was able to get home and GPS picked up. But I was scared in that little moment. I was in my car, my nice warm car.
Yeah. I mean, so there was that panic. I'm like, okay, what exactly am I going to do to keep warm?
Right.
Because I figured Natalie would call somebody if it was. And she told me I actually had 30 more minutes from when I had texted back. She had a like set time she was going to call the police and say he's lost out there.
Okay.
Which apparently they get quite often out there.
Yeah.
Because it's a place that's like the trails are kind of marked, but not like overly marked. There's just posts every once in a great while.
See, what you could have done is if you had signal and be like, Natalie, get a flare gun, go to the parking lot and fire it.
Yeah.
It would have helped you.
Sure.
You would have been like, okay, I know where I'm going. And like every 15 minutes have her fire.
Yeah. Something else I should get is a compass so that I don't need a phone to know which way is east.
Yeah, because your phone has a compass.
I know.
But if you turned it off.
Yeah, well, yeah. So anyways, it was one of those where getting lost in the woods, having a wife who was mad the whole night. Like,
I can't wait till we get together and actually can like break that down face to face.
I know.
We're going to have so much fun.
I think maybe when we have a break in April, she should give her version of that story.
Yes. That might be good.
She will give her version of what
I want to do it over drinks with her so she can get a little saucy, and then we can do it.
That definitely would be fun. So anyways, that is Mike's. He was stupid and was not prepared to be out past dark. And
well, it's a good I think it's a good learning experience for me.
Especially if we're going to do something like the Appalachian Trail. Should maybe have the right gear. And, and I still haven't told Natalie that's a plan someday. So, Natalie,
whoopsies.
This is me telling you that Jason and I someday want to do the Appalachian Trail.
Now, the plan is just do a segment of it.
Yeah, not the whole thing.
You have to be a millionaire or just be so poor you don't have anything to lose to do it. And no offense to anyone that's done that. Not like anyone's going to listen to this show. But because it's like it'll take you 7 months to do it. So.
Oh, but how much fun.
No, I don't want to spend that much time with you, Mike. A month's going to be tough enough. We need Jesus.
We are going to hate each other. So speaking of Jesus, so a couple weeks ago, I don't know what episode it was, you mentioned God's plan. And I was like, you know what? We should talk about that.
I think it was like end of January. Like it was more than, I don't think it was even in February.
Yeah, it might not. But you know what? The weeks have all blended together.
Because you love me so
much. And if we were really good podcasters, we would actually pull out the link and send them back there. But you know what?
You get what you get and don't throw a fit.
We're not that good at this. So anyways, talking about God's plan. And so I wanted to start with asking, what is your unfiltered view? Because you give it to us normally unfiltered. When you hear the phrase, God has a plan.
You know, when I first hear that, I go, bullshit.
Okay.
But then I'm like, sorry, God. You are all powerful. Because I believe in God, right?
Yep.
And that's part of the thing. What God talks about. So I actually have a question before I move on from that. There might be a lot of questions for me. Okay. And I know you can't answer. Well, you can answer some of them.
Yeah.
Is this God's plan thing in the Old or New Testament?
In both, I would say.
You would say, or is it written down somewhere?
I mean, all throughout the Bible, you see God working his plan.
So it's not actually written down.
I'm trying to think if there's any verse that says, I mean, in the Old Testament, God has a plan for your life to prosper you, to not harm you, he says to his people in Israel. So it'd be both.
I was just curious because I've never heard a scripture where it said, this is my plan or this is blah, blah, blah. But I think as humans, we think he has a plan because he did the 7 days and everything was planned out, blah, blah, blah. So I just think that's what I say. BS, I don't think he has a plan because, again, if he had a plan, then what's going on in the Ukraine?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Is that the plan? I mean, it's weird for me, and I think that's where non or pre-Christians think like, if he's so powerful and has a plan, why is he allowing this evil?
Yeah, I think that's good. So for me, my unfiltered view, it's often difficult for me to believe God has a plan because there's so much evil. There's so much brokenness. So I don't think we're actually that far apart. Like, I think God has a plan because Scripture talks about him having a plan and God working it. But then I look around my world and I'm like, I see all this evilness and brokenness.
Yeah.
How in the hell is their plan?
So, and you do not have to answer this because I
Yes.
don't want you to get in trouble. But like, if one of your students came up to you, would you say the same thing?
I probably wouldn't swear, but I would.
Yeah, please don't do that. Yeah.
But I would, because again, I think that's just being honest. I have really worked at being honest with the students because again, think like lying to them, nope, everything's going to work out is not going to help them because they're not there. So I always seek to be honest in that. Be like, yeah, like it's difficult for me to believe that God has a plan when.
And I think that's an honest answer.
Yeah.
So I just was curious if you would have said that, which I think is okay.
Yeah.
Even if I was your boss, I would be like, that's fine. I mean, I kind of think the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think anyone who's honest would have to say that. I think,
yes, correct.
I think if you meet a Christian who doesn't say something like that, run.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? You're not being real. You're a fake person, and I don't want to be around you.
That's a really good point.
So as I think about God's plan, I think it often has to do with our view of God. And so, Jason, like, as you think of God, like, what is your view of God and who he or she is?
Well, excuse me?
I'm not.
Excuse me?
I'm not. I'm
he
not
is
boarding
a
you.
White male, sir. White male.
Okay.
No, he's not. I don't know either, but he's not. Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of scary.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I know in the book in the Bible, you know, it talks about gentle and loving and stuff like that. But I mean, for somebody that can control all this and create all this, that scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
And it scares me a little bit that he's allowing the evil. If he's so powerful, that scares me a little bit. And it also be like, well, he could take my life too. Like, even though I try to live a good life and be kind and do the things and believe in him, I can walk out and get the mail and get schmucked by my neighbor that drives too fast down the street.
Yeah.
So that's a little scary to me. I mean,
yeah. So your view is it scary because he's powerful or scary because he's judging?
I actually don't worry about the judging.
Okay.
It's just the power.
Okay.
I would say is the biggest scare to me, that he can just do whatever he wants. I mean, that's a little scary. I mean, if you look at in a kind of a worldly perspective with Putin, I mean, that's what he does. He does to what he ever wants to his people, and they don't have a choice.
Yeah. Do you think it scares you more because you were abused as a child?
No.
Okay.
That doesn't trigger anything.
Okay, I didn't know if it's because like your parents or your mom had power and therefore used it.
You always try to bring that up.
I'm just trying to dig deep. This is what we do on this show.
No, I actually didn't even think about that. I mean,
Okay.
it may be true, but I just think someone with that much power it's hard for me to believe that they're all pure. Please don't hit me with lightning. Sweet
See,
Jesus.
right? You're into
I
that.
know, I
like,
am.
Like you're living that
I'm-
right now. You're
I'm
a little
like-
bit timid.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
So if you're looking for how timid Jason looks, you should watch the video on YouTube.
Always got to put that in there, don't you?
It's kind of now my shtick. So I think for me, for the longest time, I thought God was like this judgmental, like dad who was trying to catch you.
Yeah.
Been like, ooh, you haven't done what you're supposed to. I've caught you. Or oh, I can't believe you haven't read your Bible enough. I can't believe that you said that or did that. So that's been my view of God for most of my life.
Do you think that now me flipping on you is church? The way you raised in the church or your parents?
I think I probably both. Probably both played into that because I now view God different now that I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a dad, like I look at Cam and I'm like, man, like I'm not trying to catch him and stuff. Like I want the best for him. Like,
I'm trying to catch my kids.
well, see, better. And we all know the phase of life Jason is in.
Right. Yeah. I know what you're saying about that, but I lost my train of thought, Michael.
Okay. Well, I will keep blabbing and maybe you'll catch it back. No, but so like now as a dad, like I'm like, okay, I want the best for Cam, and even if it is catching him, it's not because it's like, haha, I caught you.
No.
It's I'm catching you because what the thing you're doing is hurting you, and it's hurting your life, and you are not able to see it because you're at the stage you're at. So I think my view of God has changed because now when I come to God, now when I'm like, oh, like even if I haven't read my Bible in a while, even if I haven't spent time, like He's not like, Mike, I'm just so mad at you. It's like, oh, thank you for coming and spending time with me.
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. I think I had the same thought when I was growing up, too, because I think it's just how the church was presented to me. Like, you go twice on Sunday. You don't mow the lawn. Like, there was a lot of, like, rules and things around that.
Yeah.
So in my head, if I didn't do those things, I was going to be in trouble.
Yes.
And I think that's how a lot of those CRC and strict churches kind of ran things. So you kind of had a fear of God, even though in the Bible, it's, He's a loving and caring God. You'd read that, but in your mind, you're like, I'm getting caught. If I don't go to church, I'm dead.
Yeah, and because He's powerful.
Right.
Then it's like, oh, that's even more scary.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that's where it would come from. Apparently, you think He's gentle now, and I still think He's coming for me.
Yeah.
But... obviously, I think you have to be because you're in ministry. It'd be weird if you'd be
you know what?
You'd be preaching one day and be like, "You guys better run."
You know what? I bet there's more. I think there's more pastors than we realize who would think God is more judgmental. Like I've listened to sermons of people. Like I would say, I think they think God is judgmental and that God is trying to catch them. And I just think what God has done or what's happened in my heart because of Cam, I now go, okay, if the Bible calls God a father, then now I understand that because I'm a father in a little bit different way. So.
Oh, I appreciate that thought. Huh. I never would have thought about that.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
So again, like I always try to have that view. Now, again, I'm not powerful like God, believe it or not.
Well, you are in the world that you're being the leader.
Yeah,
with your son. I mean, you basically can tell him what to do. Like that's power.
He's still not strong enough to actually like. I physically can move him places.
Yeah.
I don't, but I could.
Right.
Well, he always tries to wrestle me to show like he's always trying to judge his strength.
Yeah.
Right. That's what a lot of times boys will do. So he's trying to wrestle me, and I'm like, you still can't beat the old man.
So quick story with that. Last year, Avery ran track, and I was so excited she was running track. She was running sprints, right?
Yep.
She'd been training all year, whatever, and she thinks like, okay. One day we're at the park, and there's a softball field, and I'm like, she's like, you want to race? I said, are you sure about that? And I said, she goes, yeah, I bet you, I don't know, like $1 that I can beat you. I'm like, you sure about that? Now, mind you, this is before I had started working out. I had been sedentary for a decade.
Okay.
Like, hadn't worked out at all. Had tennis shoes on, had shorts on. I smoked her ass. She got me at the start.
Yep.
But within like 3 seconds, I caught her and pulled away, and she started crying.
No.
Yes.
Jason.
Well, I mean,
Jason Gerald.
I didn't taunt her, but I'm like, yeah, girl, I still got it. Just because I'm old and I haven't worked out in 10 years, I still can run faster than you.
Now, do you think she cried because she's competitive or cried because she thought you were old and you were still better than her?
I think the second, and I think she thought I would pull up for her.
Oh.
That doesn't happen in Jason's world.
No.
I don't let you win.
Yeah.
Megan has to tell. Now, Sully, I take that back. And when we play games sometimes, like board games and stuff, I do let him get a win. But Avery, ground that shit to the ground. Like, you're going to need to learn. So, I mean, I'm not that mean.
But I remember the first time I actually beat my dad in basketball. I mean, he's 5'10", and I was like 6'2", but I still couldn't beat him. And I finally remember the day I actually beat him. And I never want to take that away from Cam of like me fake him winning because everyone knows when somebody's doing that for you.
Yeah, and I hope I don't know if she's running track this year, but I hope she does in high school, and I hope she can beat me. But if I keep working out, she's not. I'm pretty fast.
You are fast.
I don't look fast. I'm pretty fast.
Well, as we've talked about, our legs are about the same length. like with the jeans we wear, and
Yeah.
you're a whole lot shorter. So you are like mostly leg, which doesn't matter for guys, but you are mostly leg.
Yeah, all the women that are looking at my legs. Anyways.
So I think a lot of times too, so when you talk about God's plan, getting back on God's plan, I think for me what's made it the hardest is shit that's happened in my life, shit that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think of my cousin Jordan. He was 27 and he had just bought his new house. He was going to get married. And he was out with friends riding through the Allegan Woods on it wasn't a quad, but it was a vehicle that went about the speed of a quad, but
Side by side.
Yeah, you could say side by side.
Yeah.
Anyways, he decided to stop driving and let his friend drive, and they end up hitting a branch and it ended up going through his heart.
Mm.
And so I remember just being at that viewing and funeral and just going, "What the hell, God?" He's a young kid. He was going to marry the girl he'd been dating, got the house, doing all this stuff, and he dies. And so that's the stuff that makes me question God's plan, because I'm like, again, as a father, then I'm going, why in the world did you allow it to happen? I don't think God made my cousin die. I think he allowed it to happen. If God's all powerful, he has to allow things to happen.
Right.
I think of with Natalie's cousin, Charity. She died of cancer quite a few years ago now, but it was over 10 years ago. Wow. And she was in her early 30s, which seemed really old then, but now it doesn't. And it was one of those things where just and cancer is the most horrific thing to see somebody die of.
Yeah.
It's just so slow. There's false hope at times of hey, they're getting better, and then the cancer just shows up everywhere. I see that, Natalie and I with just, times struggling to have kids and just with adoption plans taking way longer. And so I see that, and I see brokenness. I'm like, God, how in the world do you have a plan, or how in the world are you good and have a plan? So for me, that's the shit that hasn't made sense, has made it hard to believe in God's plan.
Some of it I think about. You talk about you guys struggling to have kids. I think that struggle is good.
Yeah,
it's weird to say.
Explain.
Well, I mean, you've overcome it,
Yeah.
right? And most people, I'm not going to do a statistic, but I'm just I feel like a lot of people, that struggle is good for them. It makes them a better person. Now, do I want to go back and get abused? No. Does that person that was sexually abused, do I want them to have to experience that? No, I don't. But they're probably, I shouldn't say they're probably a better person. It depends on where they are in life. It depends on if they work on their stuff. I could still be a piece of shit if I didn't work on my stuff.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm thinking some of the struggle is okay. But when you're talking about death and cancer and stuff like that, I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's all powerful, then why is he allowing it to happen? Okay, then we go back to the Adam and Eve thing, right?
Yep.
And I just don't buy that shit. If you're so powerful, then just fucking fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got too comfortable.
So, yeah. So what are some things in your life? Like as I'm looking at, what are some things where you're like, man, that shit doesn't make sense if God has a plan and God is good.
Yeah. I think the one story is actually with my ex-wife, who had a daughter before we met. And so we were married, and one night and mind you, this was a rocky marriage, so it's there was not very many good times. The only time we had good times is when we had sex. Okay. And then after that, we would go spend money, and those were good times. And then the rest of it was horrible. But anyways, so yeah, one night she woke up with a splitting headache. Healthy kid, nothing wrong, just a normal kid. And she basically had a brain aneurysm in the middle of the night, and ever since then she's been completely handicapped and mentally handicapped, can't walk, just basically lays in a bed. I don't even know how she's still alive, to be honest with you. She's probably close to 30 now, maybe 28, something like that. So I wonder about that. A completely healthy kid, literally the day before outside playing with her friends, and then that night it's all over.
Yeah.
And then having her suffer this whole time.
Yeah.
I think to myself all the time, It sounds terrible. I'm like, God, why are you allowing her to suffer? I mean, they don't know. I mean, obviously it's Nolte's sister, so I would never wish her to pass, but I often wonder, oof, that's
is she experiencing any good?
any pleasure or anything,
Yeah.
like just being there. And I'm sure she knows a little bit what's going on, but I mean, it's so hard to tell. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, she can't speak.
Yeah.
So that's shitty.
Yeah. So this is a little off script, but I think it kind of goes with this. So, so we're even talking war, like with Russia and all of that. Like, so I think often, like I would say, and I think you would say, if God is powerful, why doesn't he stop Putin from doing what he's doing, right? Would that be a common response?
Yeah, I mean, anything like that.
Yeah, so common response. But if God forced people to do things, is that loving?
What do you mean, God forcing?
Like what if God just made Putin not choose evil? Like, isn't he then forcing people to do?
Well, that would be his plan then. Like, that kind of aligns with what all the Christians talk about.
Well, God's plan can still exist with evil alongside. I mean, because the story of the Bible is that God's plan right now, as we're experiencing, is happening, and yet evil is happening at the same time. They're running in parallel.
Correct.
But like, so again, I think with kids, like, I want Cam to live a certain way, but is it loving if I force Cam to live a certain way?
As long as that way is good, and in your opinion.
Okay.
I mean, you're his leader in the moment. I mean, other than God, of course. But I think that's fine. But I also, going back to what you're saying about him making him do it. I mean, everyone talks about these plans that were written out when everyone was born, right? So, but yeah, he's so powerful, he can't just change that. Like, it's just weird to me to think that when Putin was born, God already was like, yeah, this guy's going to be a piece of shit. And then he's going to, go into Ukraine and take it over. Like, that just seems super weird.
So is that God's plan or God's foreknowledge? I know we're getting a rabbit hole, but
well, I mean, yeah, we can go back and when you say foreknowledge, meaning
like just because I know something. Okay, so often as a parent, I know if Cam does a certain thing, I know what's gonna happen. Like, I know if Cam
he does this
is gonna happen, and, and here's what the bad that's gonna happen. But now that doesn't mean that it's my plan for him that he does that. I try to say, hey, if you do this, this is how it's going to be for you. Is that my plan, or is that just foreknowledge of the plan?
Well, just knowing that you know the results because it's something simple, right? He didn't pick up the dog poop and you told him to. You know he's going to get in trouble. You kind of know what's going to happen. I don't know. And somebody that was pro God's plan heavily might say, well, this could happen where, Ukraine overpowers them and Russia crumbles and then the world's a better place. I'm like, yeah, and it also means they could launch a nuke to the U.S. and we're all dead.
Yeah.
So it's like 6-1, half a dozen in the other.
There you go. The old phrase, boomer. Boomer. Like, I think we should have a boomer button. Boomer.
I'll get a boomer button.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to me is, I think. I don't know if I'm going to try something out. I'm not sure if I agree with it yet, but
I'll let you know.
I think if God forces humans to do things, that is evil. I think God forcing every action in this world would be an evil. Like, man has free will. Now God knows what's going to happen. God has a plan that he's working out. But like and he can work in the heart of Putin. He can do that. But I also then go, man, like, God's bringing people up, I would say, or there are people rising to the occasion to fight evil. There are people who are saying, you know what, Putin is evil, and they are taking him down. So I'm going, man, maybe I just don't have the full knowledge of it. So, yeah, I just think God forcing every evil person to do good.
Well, I mean, then it's heaven, right?
Except,
I mean, if everyone that's evil does good, and then there's no evil in the world, then it's heaven.
Yeah, I thought about that, but in heaven, it's people who've chosen to follow God and chosen to do good. So it's still a free will. I mean, like, forcing Cam to love me, and I know I'm using examples that are very finite, and God is not. but this is the only way that I'm
yeah,
able to
you
understand
can relate
God,
it.
is going, again, me forcing Cam to love me is evil, I think. I mean, I can't force him to love me, but
No.
but like if I as a parent were trying to make him force him to love me and to think I was awesome, I think could be a borderline evil.
I mean, if you're forcing your kid to love you, I mean, that is evil. Like, you try to do what you can so they do,
Of
but
course.
I mean, no, you can't do that. That's evil.
So again, heaven is at some point humans choosing
True.
to follow God. Now there's a bunch of theologies, like we can get really dorky.
No.
We're not going to get dorky because we're not that show, which is
We're not that smart either. Well, you might be.
But it's not
Monarchs.
that show. Monarchs. You don't know what that is? Go back and listen to the last episode.
Sorry, I distracted.
No, I'm kind of getting in the weeds, but again, I just think God has a plan. There's evil in this world right now, and yet God is still working the plan, even though we don't see it. And I hate that, again, that the evil exists. I hate that people die. I can't explain why that is allowed.
No one can.
Yeah.
No one can. No, it doesn't matter the smartest person in the world. And I think that is part of why it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many things that the humans have not figured out. One of them is the brain.
Yep.
I mean, they figured out a lot, but there's still some weird. I mean, they figured out spleens, right, and gallbladders.
Of course.
They know everything about them. There's nothing. I mean, maybe there's some secret stuff, but speaking of weird stuff, this is a complete sidebar. I was watching TikTok, and my God, you've probably seen this. This woman say her husband went in for a vasectomy that was supposed to take 45 minutes. It took 3 hours. Come to find out, he had 3 vas des. So there's 2 pipes that carry the sperm up and down or whatever. He had 3, and they've never seen it before. So I'm just like, I say that about the gallbladder, but maybe there is some weird shit out there. I don't know. Maybe there's more people that have had 3, but I thought that was fascinating. But yeah, and so I think that's frustrating as humans not to know God's plan. Like, we can't figure shit out about that.
Yeah.
I guess space in the brain. Is there anything else I'm going to want to say later on?
But no, space in the brain, right? They're so complex. And again, even that goes to me of like, I mean, we have the smartest people in the world working on the brain and space, and yet they
haven't even scratched the surface.
No. I mean, the whole universe is more than we can even comprehend.
Yeah.
Creepy side note.
Yeah.
So I am claustrophobic. And I've like, what if I was up in space and was like working on the space station and like the chain broke? That's like the most claustrophobic thing ever.
You mean if you're outside of it?
Yeah, like working on it and all of a sudden broke, and then all of a sudden you know you're going to suffocate. Somehow that's claustrophobic to me, even though it involves the most amount of space.
That's so funny that you bring that up. I actually saw another TikTok where a guy, he does this for fun. He's in this crevice.
No.
Dude, I was like that. I wouldn't say I'm claustrophobic, but I think the abuse thing, when like people jump on me or like tickle me, I like freak out.
For sure.
But yeah, this guy was in this crevice and he does, I mean, we're talking like he barely could get through. I'm like,
oh.
But yeah, that would be, I have thought about the space thing where you're like, that's it. They can't get you.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you just stay in the so
I think you float.
Okay, here's a dummy thing. But the space station stays in the same like orbit, right? So wouldn't you just stay in the same orbit and they would somehow be able to have to like boost ahead or something and catch you?
Maybe it's movies that have misdone it.
Maybe, because in my head I feel like it'd be hard for them to get you, but you'd probably stay relatively close because you're moving.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Someone that knows needs to email us, please.
hello@threadspodcast.com, right?
Yep, you got it right. You haven't said it in a while.
I haven't heard it in a long time. So God's plan. I don't know where we got.
I know. I think we're done with made sense and doubts. I think we're kind of up to a better alternative.
Yeah, I mean, because we've kind of, without even trying to get to doubts, right? I think for me, right, the two. I'm just going to summarize here. How come quote unquote good people die young? I think that makes absolutely no sense to me. And then why evil is allowed to exist and cause so much damage.
I wish I could talk to somebody that they'll say, well, it's Adam and Eve. I'm like, okay, explain that then. Let's just keep going. Well, it's weird for me that when I ask a religious leader, I haven't, But if I did, they would say, well, why did my friend die of cancer? Well, because Adam and Eve sinned. Okay, but why did that happen, and why did that change the way, you know what I mean? Like, tell me that part of it. It just seems weird. Think about the simplicity of it. It's like, God, don't eat this apple. I ate the apple. Well, fuck the rest of the world. Like, it's as simple as that. That's weird to me.
Huh. I've never heard of it said like that. So let me try to unpack
I was
that.
like, because it is. It's like this, like, the rest of the world is going to suffer for the rest of time because you ate this apple. Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
that's weird.
I would say it's more than, humans eating the fruit. God said, hey, you have everything, but this is mine. And then it's humans saying, well, God's holding something back from us.
Well, he created us, so what's his problem?
And so he's holding it back because he doesn't want us to be like him. And then they sin. And the reality then is, and again, I don't get why, but the scripture would say that we are then born with a sin nature because we're like our parents. Just like we have things like our parents that we like or don't like, that sin nature exists, and then that we choose to sin and then fall prey to sin. And all of creation, scripture would say, all of creation is affected by sin. So then I'm looking at that, and I can get where you're saying, God's kind of a jerk. Like, that's kind of like a really bitch move. Sorry, God. No, but it
Well, it kind of is.
But it seems like that. But then what makes me not think that, though, is right away, God says, hey, like, you guys messed this up. Like, I created this perfect world. You guys just had to follow me, obey me. That's it. And you guys have chosen you're going to rebel. But I'm going to fix it. And he says right away, right, he's going to send a seed from the woman. And we see later in Scripture that's Jesus, who is God. So God's basically saying, I will die so that I can fix the mess you guys have made. So then I'm going.
But he didn't fix it.
It's
fixed when we die.
Or is God in the process of doing it just slower than what we like?
Jeez.
No,
that's interesting.
Because again, I think scripturally would say God is fixing it, but we can't always see where he's moving it.
Yeah.
He is bringing it new. And yes, it will be finalized in heaven, but there's ways that he is bringing wholeness. There's ways that he is using people to fix the evil.
How terrible would it be if, like, I think about the Ukraine-Russia thing, if Russia did launch nukes and we did, and the whole world just exploded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what a shame. All these things we've done, this technology, the good things, there's a lot of bad things, but it's just done, and it has to start over.
Yeah. Well, would it be able to, though?
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be someone that lived through that.
If
Antarctica would have survived.
I feel like the atomic fallout, which would be radiation,
so
would like destroy every vegetation. I mean, it also depends how the number of nukes that went off.
And I watched a TikTok. That's the third time I've said that.
I know.
About
we get all of our information
about the radiation thing, and
Yeah.
it didn't seem as bad. I mean, it's horrible, mind you, but it all depends on how big of the nuke it is and those kind of things, I guess.
And also, I mean, if it went crazy, if there was a certain person who was president, who will remain nameless, who would then launch a bunch. Like, if 1 or 2 is launched, I could see that. But if, like, 100 are launched, because you also have China. China has a crap load.
Yeah.
China's probably just waiting, ready to go with a red button. Like, let's go.
They're doing this with the popcorn, the Michael Jackson gif right now. They're just eating it. Like, I'm like, oh, gosh.
I'm also very proud of you for saying GIF correctly and not saying GIF.
Oh, it's GIF.
I know, but the person who created it tries to say it's GIF, but I'm like, it's a solid G. It's a graphic interface.
I think it goes against our English because, what? Sully wanted me to spell tsunami. He's, the autism, right? He's just typing, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's drawing something and he wants to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, first of all, I have to voice text it to someone in the chat because I don't know how to spell it, And I told him it was TSUMAI or something like that. He goes, T? I was like, welcome to the English language, son.
It is so freaking confusing. I remember teaching Cam how to read and be like, and the rule that I just taught you last page is different.
Doesn't apply here.
Thank you, English.
Oh. Man, we've done some rabbit holes today for sure.
Which is good.
Yeah, no, it's been a good conversation.
So the nukes, world ending. So here's my like, if I get down to it, I'm like, sweet. Even if I like go, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a good God with a good plan. What is a better alternative to explain our world?
I don't think there is. That's the problem. I think that's what we've
Yeah.
been trying to do for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think there is. I mean, I guess honestly, in the back of my head, I want a better alternative to explain it to the pre-Christians, because you feel like a dumbass when you're like, well, that's God's plan, and they look at you like you're high.
Yeah.
That's the problem, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
You said like 7 times.
I know, because I'm really thinking. You're
I know.
Sorry,
I got your brain thinking, didn't I?
Sorry, people, for all the yeah. Jason and I talk about that because I a lot.
Or yep.
So, like, here's an alternative: is that, I mean, humans are the ones who are forming it and deciding it. There is no God. There's no greater plan. Okay, that's a fair view for somebody. I would get why they would be there, but then I'm going, okay, like, is our hope in tech? Tech,
that's interesting.
Tech seems to be making the world better in some ways, but then tech, we're just talking about the nukes. That right there is technology. That's technology at its furthest. Is that, yes, it can make heat and energy and power with the atomic, subdividing and putting back together, fusion and fission, I think were the words.
I have no idea.
Those are really cool words that I think apply.
All right,
but we also made a bomb that can literally like wipe out areas and have people have, cancer and all sorts of health things. So is that a better alternative? That it's just humans and we have tech to make our world better, and that's our hope? Or there's meta? Is meta a better alternative?
what's meta?
So
All I know is meta world peace. Oh, and then Facebook switched.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Facebook switched to meta, and from what I've heard, they want to create an alternative universe where we like put on goggles and we can be anything we want to be and live any life that we want to live.
But we have to wear the goggles the whole time?
Goggles or some other sort of tech. So then that we can come home from our job and sit down and put this on, and then we're 6'4" and ripped, and world is awesome and we have everything we want. So that's like an alternative. That's
weird.
That we create just what seems perfect while the world's going. I don't know. I just don't know any better alternative.
No, I don't either. I really don't either.
Yeah.
And it just is frustrating. And to explain that to somebody that has a logic, I mean, explain it to somebody that's a graduate student that's got a 4.0 that's super smart. They're going to be like, okay, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like, okay. But I guess that's what faith is too, right?
Yeah.
You believe in this, there's other religions, they believe that, and the 72 virgins, not versions. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's just, you got to believe in faith, and this is what I believe, sir, and I'm sorry you don't believe in it, but this is what I do.
Yeah.
And go on with life, I guess.
I would love to hear from people too. If there's anyone listening, like, I want to know what your version of how this world is going, because I think it's important to discuss those, because again, like Jason and I think we come from similar backgrounds more than we realize.
No, we do.
But like, because who was it? It was actually, I think it was you who asked, but I forget who was on the show before I was on, and she was like, yeah, I don't believe in creation and all this, and you then asked her what she believed in. She goes, I don't know.
Yeah, that was that Catherine Roberts.
Oh, it was
I
Catherine.
only remember her name because it was so terrible.
It was Catherine. I thought I was like Catherine, but that doesn't sound right. Anyways,
No.
But I think that was the good thing, because I think that's the reality of, and again, it's more in relationship of, okay, like maybe this is not a good idea, because again, I always have to be open. I think as a person of faith, I have to be open that what I believe may not be true. I think it's true.
Yeah.
That's why I believe it and try to live it. But
here's a brain blaster. That was a boomer thing to say.
ooh.
Who cares? Like,
Huh.
What if, like, why do we have to figure it out? Why are we trying so hard to figure out what the plan is?
I think because humans need meaning.
I know, but don't you have meaning though? Like, if you would die right now, would you look back and say my life had meaning? Without God, take God out of it.
Well, without God, I wouldn't exist.
Well, no shit.
So
I
then
mean,
how would I look back and say I had meaning?
Well, can we
No,
go in the metaverse right now and have some alternative things to happen? See how I brought that back?
Well played, professional podcaster Jason.
No, I'm serious because
Yeah.
like I often think like that's why as I've gotten older, I'm like I really don't care what you believe. If you're not harmful to people, then who
Yeah.
cares? Like, do you feel good about it? Great.
Yeah.
And I think if you spend too much time thinking about it, you're wasting the life that you've given.
Yeah.
So if you believe in it, great. I think the conversation is good. I think
Yeah.
this whole conversation is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's just live life.
Yeah. And if you ever go to a funeral, this is a total side note. I'm going to say, please,
This is the show of side notes.
please, for the love of Jesus,
Oh, yeah.
do not tell somebody whose person died, well, God has a plan and they're in a better place. For the love of Jesus, do not say that.
I personally okay anyone to punch that person in the face at the funeral if they do that.
I refuse to say anything other than conversation with them. I am so sorry for your loss. Because that's where I am, because they have a loss. Whether or not we believe God's plan is working, not working, whether we believe in heaven or not, it sucks.
You know, my neighbor just passed, not in this neighborhood where we used to live, and I wrote the lady, we call her Grandma Sharon. I mean, literally, she took care of us, and his name was Tump.
Tump.
T-U-M-P, not Trump. Tump. That was his nickname. His name was Julius.
Well, of course he needs a new
Yeah. Badass guy, just hillbilly as all get out. Love that guy. I still tell stories of that, and that's what I sent the text. And you know what I said at the end? I'm like, Sharon, this sucks ass right now. This is the shittiest thing you have to go through, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say sorry for your loss. I didn't say God has a plan. I'm like, I'm in the shit with you right now, and this is gross.
Yep.
And just acknowledge that.
Yeah. And that's so like what the Bible, I think, would call people to do. Because, I mean, the Jewish people to this day, they sit Shiva. Is that correct? Anyways, I think it's sit Shiva, where they just sit and mourn with the person. They don't say anything. They just come and they sit in their house. And because, again, even if you believe God has a plan, even if you believe it's a good plan, evil still happens and it still hurts. And there's, So, anyways,
and we know that it hurts.
Yes,
and it's we've experienced that loss. So there's a good podcast we actually had on our episode. Andy's mom always lose. Oh, sorry, Marcy. We had her on episode 50. I know that for a fact. But anyway, she talks. She lost her son, and it's a grieving podcast. It is so great. If you actually listen to that episode of ours too, she does talk about that. Sorry for your loss. The weird shit people say at the funeral is just the weirdest, stupid shit. I'm like, they need to teach you in school when you go to a viewing or a funeral what to say. I mean,
so you think it'd be wrong? Sorry for your loss.
I just think it's like, I don't know.
See, I didn't think when
I don't think it's bad.
See, I think when I've had people die, like, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you, like, because you're grieving with me.
I don't know. I'm just I like to be original, I guess. So I mean, not original. I'm just like, I don't know. I'd be like, this fucking sucks, man.
Which is kind of the same thing, though. I'm sorry for
your
loss,
but it just seems like if you said that though, like, I'm sorry for your loss. This is sucky, and I am feeling it with you, and you know.
Yeah.
But I get people are awkward. That's why you don't have a viewing. We're gonna go back to that, and you just cremate and you just have a party.
But still, people are gonna come to your wife and kids and be like, "Hey, this sucks. I'm sorry for your loss," or they'll be the one Christian who's uncomfortable and doesn't know what to say and be like, "God has a plan. They're in a better place."
I authorize a bitch slap. My wife, Megan, you can bitch slap anybody that says that about me.
Can they take a small bit of your ashes and throw it in their eyes?
Yes.
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 Because what else are they going to do with your ashes?
I know. That's weird, too, right? The cremation. Like,
why?
I mean, what you do with the ashes. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like my one dog, I know we're talking about dogs. My one dog, I sprinkled in the lake up north because he just loved it. My other dog, he's still on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because he liked to sit on the couch all the time.
Okay. That makes sense.
What do you do with me? You put me in a podcast mic?
Yes. So when they breathe, ew.
Oh.
And we went downhill really quick.
And we need to wrap this
okay,
up.
So brass tacks. Here, Jason. Brass tacks, unfiltered. Now that we've talked through it, do you, Jason Gerald, believe that God has a plan and that it's good?
I will. That it's good that God has a plan, or the plan is good?
either or. Take it.
I'm going to split it. I think God has a plan, but I'm not sure if it's good for me.
Okay.
Meaning, I don't know if I want to do what God's plan is because I like to buck the system.
Okay. You're a rebel.
Yes.
See, I would say I believe God has a plan. I believe it's good, but I still am going to say where I am is I don't always see how it's good.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me because I am such a control freak.
Yeah. How do you? We're talking again. We're trying to wrap.
No, we're good. Let's
no,
keep going.
but I mean, like, how do you see that as good? How do you go to bed at night? I'm asking you as a religious leader and a lot stronger in your faith than me and those kind of things. Like, how do you just stick your head in the sand or?
No, I've just seen over and over
the good stuff.
God continue to work. And again, like, through all the crying and pain, even of, children and struggling, I wouldn't trade any of that for Cam.
Right.
Like, I love him with more than I can ever imagine, and I can't imagine life without him. And if my plan would have happened, Cam wouldn't be part of our family.
Correct.
And so I have to go to bed at night saying, God, I don't see right now how this is. And a lot of times I'm pissed off at God.
Yeah.
But I can't deny that he's worked for good in really shitty situations.
Yeah.
And what stinks is not everyone has that experience.
Right. That joy part of it.
Yeah.
Because maybe that happened and then the kid got sick and passed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, this is the plan. This is cool.
Yep.
I can't have kids. I adopted this amazing kid and then he passed. Like, what the hell?
Yep.
So
So again, that's based on my experience of,
right.
And again, in so many areas of God just working things that I think are like beyond human control.
Yeah.
And going, man, I don't always see it, but the evidence keeps pointing back to that it's good. I just don't always see it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, Jason, this has been a rabbit trail and side notes, but
yeah,
it's a good cover. It's better than I thought it was going to be. Last night, full disclosure, I finished this show plan and I sent to Jason, this is going to be a really good show or it's going to be such a tanker.
Well, what's your opinion right now?
I think it's good. I think we've had some good discussions.
Yeah, it's always good discussion. I mean, Mike's going to probably need a new job next week, but after this post, but
You have such, again, oh man, we could have a whole show of church trauma.
Oh my gosh, you're telling me.
Because you're like, I could tell church trauma. No, I believe, because again, I think these are the real discussions people have stuck their head in the sand. And again, it's uncomfortable, but
they should be having these discussions.
We should be.
It's just frustrating not to have an answer.
And again, I think that's all of life. So, Jason, this has been fun. And for those of you, can you please share the love? Can you join the Threads podcast community? Thank you for those who have. It's just a cool place to actually see everything that's going on. I love when people answer the questions that I randomly put up there.
Right.
Because, again, we don't want it just to be Jason and I's view because we know that it is limited. We are white males who are
just like Jesus.
Middle class, just like Jesus. He was white, had a beard, and was Dutch. We just didn't know it. So anyways, we'd love for you to connect with us there. Or if you want to support us, go to buymeacoffee.com/Threads Podcast. And as always, keep the faith, do your work, and live life unfiltered.
Bye.